Hi, scholars. Welcome to your first weekly read aloud. I am so excited to start this read aloud with you guys this week. I just want to give you two very important reminders. Remember, this read aloud connects to our story of the week. We already know this 3-week unit is about explorers, explorations, and adventures. So we already have an idea of what this story might actually be about. The second thing I want to remind you guys of is that you have to actively listen while we're doing read alouds. And we're going to go over those expectations as well before we dive in. So, here is our story title for today, Miss Mitchell's Eclipses. I wanted you guys to understand what an eclipse was before we dived in. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video that played right before I began talking, and you guys were able to learn about the different types of eclipses because we will see that word in our story today. Here is our main character as well, Maria Mitchell. As I said before, we want to quickly review these expectations. So read alouds will be assigned every single Monday, guys, and due every single Friday by 3 p.m. So you have all week to get this done. Each story will come with 4 questions and a place to put your unknown words. So again, those key points were weekly read alouds are now beginning. You will need to complete them for homework and not in class unless you finish your work early, guys. And then they are always due on Fridays at 3 p.m. Let's keep pushing. So we went over these expectations in class and we practiced together. So we already know how to do these scholar expectations, but I want to make sure we remember them and keep them in mind. So the first thing, you want to write down those words you don't know so that way you are able to share them at the stopping point at the end. Every Friday now, guys, we're going to go over these words. So we want to make sure that we have enough words to have a great classroom discussion on Friday. So make sure you write down those words you're not quite sure about. Next thing, take notes summarizing each paragraph. Remember, you only want to use about 1 to 3 words describing what that paragraph was mostly about. We know we are reading nonfiction, so think about the characters. What's the time? What's the setting? And what event is going on? Okay? What are they talking about in this area? And last but definitely not least, it's always easier to remember what you read if you use your imagination to visualize and picture the setting, characters, and events in the story. This is something we've been practicing, guys, so make sure you are keeping that mind active as we go. Again, just want to go over those key points, write down those unknown words, summarize your paragraphs, and then visualize what is happening. All right, we are completely geared up and we are ready to go. Let's go ahead and situate ourselves in our seat because we're about to dive into the story. I'm so excited. Let's see what we are reading. All right, so again, we're reading Miss Mitchell's Eclipses. Let's go ahead and dive in. This is written by Sarah Novak. Take a minute to look at our main character, Maria Mitchell, in the picture. We see that it's black and white, so that already tells us something about the time. Let's start with sentence 1. During an annular solar eclipse in 1831, Maria Mitchell carefully counted the seconds to calculate its exact position. Maria was 12 years old, helping her father as he viewed the eclipse through the family telescope. At age 14, she was checking the accuracy of the chronometers used in navigating by the sun, moon, and stars for the captains and crews of the many ships that sailed from Nantucket, an island off the coast of Massachusetts, where she lived. All right, guys, so before we move on, make sure, did you take those notes? Did you write down those unknown words? There's so much in this introduction paragraph. We have the setting, we have our date, we have our main character. We know who she lives with. We know where they live. So make sure you're getting those notes down before we move on. I'm going to go ahead and switch the slide, but if you want to pause the video here, feel free to do so just to make sure you have great notes. There is also a question next. I know you guys are going to use those big brains, so let's go ahead and dive in. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you guys answered that question correctly. Let's jump straight into this story. So Mitchell's fascination with the heavens increased when she became a teacher and librarian. One clear night in 1847, she was observing the skies with her telescope when she noticed something unusual that was not on the charts: a glowing ball with a long tail. Mitchell had discovered a new comet, Miss Mitchell's comet, officially C, 1847 T1, made her world famous and eventually earned her a medal from the King of Denmark. She was elected to be the American Academy of Arts and Sciences in 1848, the first woman member. So, guys, there's a lot here that we get to learn about Miss Mitchell. Make sure you guys are taking great notes. Can you imagine having a comet named after you? The Adonai comet, the Millennium comet. Just think about it, right? Think about how we could have this done if we were Maria Mitchell. So take a minute again, take those notes and try to imagine if you were her. Again, you're going to have a question next. Make sure you use those big brains to give me those great answers, and then we're going to dive back into the story. All right, guys, jumping straight back in. Mitchell was also the first female astronomy professor in the United States at the Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York, appointed in 1865. She became the director of Vassar's Observatory with the third largest telescope in the country. Vassar was then a women's college at a time when education for girls and young women was still rare. Also unusual was Mitchell's insistence that students make their own scientific investigations. In this way, she wrote the truth, which they get will be theirs, and their minds will work on and on unfettered. So, guys, there's a lot of information here. She became the first female astronomer, so she has so many accomplishments in her life, starting when she was 12. You guys are 10. So think about what you can get started on right now. Before we move on again, make sure you have those notes. Make sure you have those unknown words. There is a question up next, but you guys are going to knock it out. I believe in you. And then we'll dive straight back into the story. All right, guys, here's our last part. Hopefully you answered that question correctly. Let's dive in and knock out this last paragraph. Interestingly, even though women seldom traveled on their own then, Mitchell led expeditions with her students to view and analyze solar eclipses to Iowa in 1869 and to Colorado in 1878, where they set up their tents and telescopes. They later reported their observations. So, guys, it's so cool. She was able to travel with women on their own, going on expeditions, the same type of expeditions as Lewis and Clark. All of these expeditions were extremely important, and Maria Mitchell was a part of the exploration. All right, guys, before we move on, take your last bit of notes, write down your last bit of words. You will have one more question left, and then you'll see a slide where you can put your words in. Great job paying attention, guys. Feel free to rewind this video and go back to a part you may have missed, but awesome job. I cannot wait to see you in class tomorrow.